Wow, live and in concert, ladies and gentlemen. All right, that's outstanding. Here we are on Redneck America, going to talk about spiritual freedom. Yes, here we go. That's right, friends. We're going to go deep sea fishing in the lost souls looking for Jesus. That's right. And if you want to support this ministry, you can send a donation, right? $1.99, right? And all he gets it. That's so much of what it boils down to for much of spirituality, faith in the world. And yet, for some reason, over the last 20 years or so, what has happened has been a mass migration away from that. I don't know if it's a calling or if it's people are just tired. But the simple fact of the matter is that we have kind of an issue with some of these things. We have a fall away from spirituality and faith. We don't see a use for it or a need for it. And they just go along and they're comfortable, so they can be comfortable. But that kind of comfort of living for the weekend and living to get drunk and things that go with it, they don't exactly count as a win, do they? They don't exactly count as something important. You know, the one of the I'm going to discuss on the new nine hours on the school platform um, is going to be you. One of the good evening, man. One of the things we got to look at is so let's say we are aware of a brand new spiritual horizon. I don't care how you perceive it. I don't care how you've discovered it, how you've come across it, or what it means to you. But the thing of it is what I do care about is enabling people to have the tools necessary to get there. Right. And that doesn't if you're dealing with a large organization of a necessity, you're going to come across a certain amount of dogma, right? That's just the way things are. For 10,000 years or probably much longer than that, the world focused with its spirituality, with its central spiritual leaders on not as a you must, but well, it'd probably be better for you if you did, right? Um, the hard and fast, black and white um, patterns of Abrahamic spirituality and faith that require us to use someone else to achieve what might be necessary to move forward in whatever manner we need to, have worn thin, especially as people become more comfortable. And that's really kind of the thing of it, isn't it? Is the world is comfortable. Well, the modern world is comfortable. The third world's still struggling, right? They're still on their knees praying for someone to bring them some relief. And fortunately, the U.S. gives out billions of dollars of foreign aid every year, but they don't get it. But they've sold that whole thing of modern spirituality. What's up, man? Has sold people what they want. Hi, baby. They've sold people the modern spirituality of Christianity and the Abrahamic faiths have sold people what they want. They have given them an idea or a tool that they can use repetitively in whatever fashion that their local church decides they should do um, to maintain an attitude of hope. And that's it. It helps them maintain an attitude of hope. Very rarely have I seen anywhere preached that it builds that to build an individual into something that can do the absolute work themselves, which is for 10,000 years before. That was the goal of all of those stories, was to give an individual the tools to be able to build the future for themselves, to build a working relationship, to have a positive kind of, I don't care how you want to call it, an alliance or a congruence with the future. That's what it's always been about, is if I'm right here right now and I'm working on all these things and I want to hope for a better day. So the Abrahamic faith undermined our ability to work hard and achieve that, built a comfortable world where everybody just had to show up and trade their time for somebody else's dollars. And in that comfort, we were allowed to sit around and watch TV and get Cheeto dust on our pants. It amazes me that a certain percentage of our society has decided that that's not enough. I am unfulfilled in following that pattern to build an alliance with my own future. I am uncomfortable allowing someone else to dictate to me how I will develop and build my future. So, when we talk about the nine towers, each of those nine towers is a place to elevate yourself so you might see the pattern, the road to the next one, right? And here's the thing, just because we've discovered a grand new horizon doesn't mean we have what it takes to get there. Because we have no idea what it will look like to travel that road. We have no idea what it means. It is as alien to us as actually getting in a Viking longboat and rowing across the North Sea or sailing across the North Sea and rowing up a river all day long and getting out to whip wholesale ass on an English monastery. None of us knows what that would be like. Some of us, some of the people that will listen to this, knows what it's like to get in the back of a tank or an armored personnel carrier or a C-130 or a helo and jump out and whoop wholesale ass. Much different story, but there's a lot of training that goes with that. And I think that's really the thing we need to keep in mind. There's a lot of conditioning and training that goes with that. We don't just see it and run over there and get it. My brother tried to run a 100-mile foot race in western North Dakota. He made it 44 miles. His wife made it 64 miles. And they trained and trained and trained. So just because we can see it doesn't mean that we can achieve it. We have to be willing to put forth that work. How does that shape up? In this first part of this discovery is a real cathartic experience if we do it right. King Gylfi and the other king in the Prose Edda, both of them are living life much like we are today. Both of them get confused by all the rabbit holes they can go down. And both of them see a far shore that they want to go to, but they go by the crooked way, the way of the snake. Now, if you think about all of the other lessons that go along with spirituality of these pagan flavors, all of the stories are tools as to how you might make that straight shot. There's no need to be, both of them approached the divine. They tried to sneak up on it in disguise. There's nothing honest about that. There's nothing honest about trying to measure up to the standard of our ancestors by disguising ourselves as something we are not. No matter how much we want everybody else to play the game, and in this day and age, you can create some make-believe situation for your world you want to live in, and the world dictates that, well, you must play along with their game. Okay, fine, go ahead. Years ago, I read a paper by the Theosophy Trust. I don't remember who wrote it. And it went into great details about the Norns and Yggdrasil and all these other things. Everybody sees a tree, and in large terms, we're a lot like it. If you overlay all the systems and nervous systems and lymphatic system and blood circulatory system, all of those things, they measure up the same way. But let's say one thing happens in our life and it shuts us down. The analogy goes as this. A tree with its roots pulls up nutrients and materials and water from the ground, from the earth, all the great and generous earth, and sends it up the trunk. It moves up the trunk, and then it moves out into the leaves, and the leaves exchange that material for sunlight and carbon dioxide, CO2, and give off oxygen and transpiration to become something else. All of that energy moves through and out and benefits everyone around it. That's kind of how our life is supposed to be too. We gather up all this material that it moves up through our heart and our mind to the benefit of those around us. Not just for the self-glorification of, well, I've got some esoteric knowledge that you don't understand and you just haven't been doing it long enough and so on and so forth, or you're doing it wrong, or those mindsets and attitudes, things that are benefit to those people that are around us. And that means our kids, the people that we love, the people that we work with, the people that walk down the street. It is necessary to choose violence on occasion because that effort is the one thing worthy of protecting if there's anything worth protecting in the world. Now, back to the analogy of the tree and all that energy. That energy shows up. Let's say something bad happens. Let's say you fail to choose violence and you're taken advantage of by a stronger tribe or an individual or something along those lines, and you get your ass whooped, or you lose a girlfriend, or your parents die, or something along those lines, some great tragedy that cripples most individuals. There's an interruption in that positive flow of energy, right? The analogy is it's like a tree that gets wounded. It forms a big knot around that injury. And we do too. If you break a bone, you can see the calcified structures around it, so on and so forth. You tear a muscle, you can see the scar tissue in it. I got plenty of that. Some people's energy stops there for the rest of their lives. It never again continues on into the healthy expression of benefiting those around us as it did once, perhaps when they were children, when the world was new and everything was possible and we could be what we wanted to be, before life beat us down into something that had us questioning everything, including the very foundation of our faith, so much so that we had to change it. The power of pain to move us through life is something that we all too often at this crossroads become accustomed to, and we begin to use it for energy. We begin to use it as that thing to tap into. Well, if I get mad enough, I can keep moving forward. I do it all the time. When I get tired, when I get frustrated, when I'm not sure, when there's a little bit of chaos in my environment that I haven't anticipated, I will tap into that reservoir of energy that anger will sometimes get me to move forward. And again, I'm of no use to anyone around me in that state of mind. I am of no benefit to the individuals. If I am become righteously indignant about what I see on the news or all the things that are going on in the world, I lose the ability to be of service or use or be a benefit to the individuals that I love and cherish in this life. It's a very hard thing to discover that. And it's even a harder thing to take a look at it and realize, shit, I've been doing that all my life and I have hurt all kinds of people. I think one of the things that makes us want to get a glimpse of that grand new horizon, and we all get a glimpse of it somehow, some way, be it in a book, be it in a dream, be it in a vision, be it on a beautiful sunny day, stand on the edge of a stream, a moment of connection with the world around us. We get a glimpse of something so far beyond how we're living that it cripples us. It's the same thing happens in Arthurian legends when the King Arthur first has the sword and he has Guinevere and he's the king and he has the round table. Such a beautiful moment in life, and then it all comes crashing down. She is disloyal and he loses the sword, and the king and the country are one, and everything begins to suffer. This is when the old hag of middle age shows up asking us questions, right? It's a real difficult thing to understand and begin to come to grips with. One of the things that I want to discuss in the second step of the stage of discovery is, are you capable of making the journey? Because being aware of that, I begin to see it in people around me in various degrees. Doesn't always mean something needs to be said, because something won't always be heard, right? But what I can do with this is create a positive perception of someone of their own accord, that they might have a shot at building that powerful positive alliance with a hope for their future. Of a necessity in this world, that includes building wealth. And wealth takes a lot of things. Success is such a fleeting thing. Money is such a fleeting thing. But the wealth of a healthy relationship, the wealth of our own health, the wealth of having some money in the bank account, the wealth of doing a job well done, of being valued by your employer, or being a positive businessman and role model in your community, or being a spiritual leader and a coach. Only the wealthiest of men understand what that means. Suffice it to say, with all of that body of knowledge that I've just discussed, we should understand that what got us here may not get us there. How do we begin to review? How do we sort through it? How do we review it? How do we come to grips with that? In the Rig Thula, it was fairly simple. These couples of three generations invited the divine into their home, and Rig sat with them and ate with them and blessed their families for generations to come. Same thing happens for us. Once we accept the divine into our homes, make it a part of who we are, the very essence of who we are, which I know a lot of us do. You can't look at my home and not understand. Yeah, there's some pagan shit going on here, right? It will benefit generations to come because it's going to allow me to become something better than I was. See, the problem is that when we're comfortable and we're in the good times, we very rarely take the opportunity to work to whittle away at the growth. It's usually something that catches us flat-footed and is painful and traumatic, and then we're caught flat-footed, unawares and unprepared, and we suffer pain, and the pain creates fear, and then that fear paralyzes us into action, and we become that knot on the tree, and the flow of material no longer continues on. And now all of a sudden, are we really any use to anyone else, or are we consumed with anger, resentment, bitterness, and envy? Overcoming that is one of the reasons these spiritualities are back on our planet, and the strength and the force with which they are. These hard times that we're soon to be facing will not be inherited by the meek. Only the strong will survive this. The meek that turn the other cheek and gather in their churches. When Rome burned Jerusalem to the ground, the priests hid in the tunnels under the Temple of Solomon and prayed fervently. And they prayed up until the moment that they were killed by the Roman soldiers, not gladiators. Same thing has happened time and time again. How much better off would they have fared had they picked up the sword and worked with furious vengeance upon those who would dare defile their sacred temple? Our sacred temple is our own body. The wealth, the health, the integrity, the beauty of it, the ability to share it in a positive light, to clean ourselves up and look the part. This is what allows us to discover and make sure that we are capable of the journey. There was a time I could put on a 75 or 80 pound ruck and do a 26-mile march in full gear. Today, such an effort would cripple me, at least for 2 days. Don't think I wouldn't do it, though. Other men that I have served with couldn't do it at all. How do we continue to outline what that means? That's going to be an individual choice for everyone, what that idea of wealth should be in their life. For some, it will be money. For myself, I prefer balance. For myself, I prefer a balance of having time to enjoy with the people that I love. And right now, I'm uncomfortable because I don't have enough of that. So I'm taking efforts to change it. This school platform, the new book, The Alchemy of Life, that is going to be quite the challenge to write. All of it is part and parcel of me making the effort to create a world that I want to share with the people that I love, a better life. I have to make sacrifices right now. Some people wouldn't be willing to make those sacrifices. Some people wouldn't be willing to do without. Oh, I'm comfortable as I am. Yes, I could be comfortable right now, living like I'm living with paycheck to paycheck, even though I'm doing pretty good where I'm at. Change a couple of things, never have to worry again, sit on there, maybe go work out every now and again, quit talking so much shit, and just be comfortable for the rest of my life. But something happened to me when I was younger. Something happened to me when I got out of the Army. When I got back into the real world, it really was all the guys that I'd served with were gone. All the camaraderie, all the friendship, all the jokes, all the everything back in the real world and everybody's just out for the dollar and everybody's out for themselves and they'll stab you in the back and they'll run their mouths and they'll talk behind you and all of the poisonous things that go with the society when everyone's chasing the almighty dollar. What they didn't count on was that at that time, as I'm discovering again now, is that I can't be stopped until I decide to stop me. So I went out and built a company, and I've told it before many times. I had a little Nissan car that was um, had a clogged catalytic converter. I had a harness, and I had a broken foot and a walking cast. And I started my company and climbed that tower because if I didn't climb that tower, we didn't get to eat. The rent wouldn't be paid. And things broke in my favor in several ways because I was willing to do the hard work. But more importantly, I was willing to follow through on what I said I would do. If I tell you something in business, that's how it's going to be. There's no room for lies. There's no room for bullshit. So, oh, you might appear weak and they might get one over on you. So they'll only get to do it once. I realized I was unstoppable. And I made a shit ton of money doing it. So, like the knot in the tree, positive things in our lives can also create stronger, more fibrous conduits or avenues of that energy to move to the top. Sometimes they got to be cleaned out a little bit. Sometimes a change in location is what needed. Sometimes a completely different style of living and working is needed. Sometimes it comes from a partner who gently encourages you, look over there, Bryan. Keep looking over there. Did you hear that? Look over there. To remind you that, yeah, you still do have what it takes. So when I look at these things, and I talked about people in this stage of discovery, of the new dawn of possibilities, of determining or realizing that we are capable of the journey, and then understanding exactly where we're at in all of it, the position fix, so we don't get bombed by friendly fire, right? Our positioning in all this. What does that look like? What would it look like if I discovered a new dawn of possibility? If I made the realization I still have some tools, I'll be a little rusty. I got a little WD-40 and some hard work, get them cleaned up again. And then realize this is where I'm at. This is not where I want to be. I want to be over there. Right? I kind of choose to believe and I trust in some of the stories that I've seen, especially the one in the Heimdalljoth when Freya takes the young man on the journey and reminds him of who he is. I feel like my spirituality also has what it takes to remind me of who I am and give me the ability to make the kind of transformation that needs to occur. The specifics of what that looks like are in the Heimdalljoth. When this goddess of love, fertility, and abundance attempts to camouflage her young man, that made sacrifice, he turned the glass to stone. He turned the stone to glass with the offerings that he made to Freya. He maintained a fervent devotion to this goddess, to the Aesir, to his spirituality, and it doesn't have to be ours. If there's a pagan over there that wants to follow the Greek or the Hellenistic, go ahead. If there's one over there that's want to follow Kemetism, go ahead. The thing is embrace it fully and completely and let it be a guiding aspect of your persona. We don't need to be loud about it in community. We simply need to set the example that, yes, I have what it takes to become something. A man of honor and a woman of honor are something that are very rare finds to indeed. And when you walk into a room, people will automatically see it. When I walk into a room, there is an effect. And I don't think it's because of my size. Right? All of that and helping other people figure that out in their lives is my favorite thing to do. That is the best part of having this experience. And it came through the tough way, too. Because I jumped out there like John Wayne. I had the inherent knowledge that I am unstoppable. I'm going to try this. And I took a beating for it too. But I'm still here. I'm still standing tall. And I'm fixing to make it much, much bigger because I have a feeling the world needs it. And what I'm fixing to do with all of this and build this community and build these individuals into people that have, without fail, that inherent understanding of, I got this. That's the goal. Have a little wealth to go with it. I can think of no greater gift I could give to the world that has given me so much. For that, I'm very grateful. Now, I think on Patreon, if you haven't already, go over to bryanwilton.com and subscribe. I have a daily newsletter that I've started doing. I'll be sending that every day. The school platform will be up this week. I'm sure I will make a large announcement when that's ready. And we will go from there. We will also be building a community over on bryanwilton.com. And if you haven't bought the latest book, Beneath the Sacred Tree, I highly recommend you do so. So take a look at my link tree. Check it all out. I got some new T-shirts on the note on the Pathfinder initiative Pathfinder on teespring.com. There's some really cool ones there. Anyway, I'm pretty proud of it. Check it out. Live the part. I think that's the biggest thing is we got to live the part. We can't just talk about it anymore. Now's the time to live it. These kind of steps, these kind of ideas, this kind of engagement with the ideas that you want to foster and bring forward in the world are the kind of things that are going to help you make it through that time when everybody else is going to give up. Well, I'm not sure. I don't know. Well, I'm unstoppable. I'm going to keep going forward. Y'all can sit there on your ass if you want to. So join me. Let's move forward. Has anybody got any questions for tonight or any kind of comments? I will be live here in a minute on my Patreon on Zoom. So if anybody's on my Patreon and wants to join in on that, you are more than welcome to. Otherwise, tomorrow is Monday, and grab it by the nose and whip its ass. All right? And I will hopefully see you here in just a little bit. All right. Y'all have a good night.